Have you ever realized that you just don't have time to make a full course meal? Do you ever wish that you could just make something quickly? Then stay tuned, because today you'll find out how to make simple soups and sandwiches that taste good and are good for you. Welcome to Let's. I'm Barbara Nolan, and our guest cook today is Jennifer White from Hardeeville, Kentucky. She teaches nutrition classes, and I'm sure she'll have a lot of wonderful information to share with us today. Hi, Jennifer. Welcome to 3ABN.
Hi, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Is this your first trip to 3ABN?
Actually, it's my second trip, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
Did you come alone, or did you have family come with you?
I had the special privilege of having my mom make a trip down from Michigan to come with me, and I brought my children with me too, Joshua and Sarah.
Okay, well that's wonderful. Jennifer, what will we be cooking today?
We're going to make potato corn chowder and a sandwich to go with it too.
Sandwich too.
Yes.
Okay, well let me read the ingredients for you. The ingredients for potato corn chowder are 1 1/2 cups of water or vegetable broth, 1 medium onion diced, 2 medium potatoes diced, 2 celery stalks diced, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of savory, which is optional, 1 tablespoon of diced parsley, 1/2 cup of diced bell peppers, and 4 cups of corn, canned or frozen, divided, 2 1/2 cups of soy milk, plain, unsweetened, and 1 teaspoon of salt.
You know, some people think that potatoes are really fattening, but they're not at all. Potatoes don't even have any fat in them at all. And of course, they don't have any cholesterol in them because they're a plant food. So we're going to make a very healthful dish here. We're going to start with 1 1/2 cups of water or vegetable broth, or you can even use the liquid that you drain off of the corn. It gives it a really nice flavor. So we'll pour our 1 1/2 cups of vegetable broth in there and turn the burner on. And we'll add 1 medium onion that we've diced up, and I really like onions. And then 2 stalks of celery that we've diced up. I like them diced up pretty fine, that way they don't overpower the soup. And we will add some seasonings to that. 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, and 1/2 teaspoon of savory, if you have it. It tastes good without it too. And 1 tablespoon of dried parsley. And to that, we will add our diced potatoes. We need 2 diced potatoes in this dish, in this soup. And we want to get this cooking, and we'll want to bring it to a boil and then cover it and let it simmer until all of the potatoes and all the vegetables in there are nice and tender.
Nice and tender.
Yes. And then when they're tender, then we'll add some bell pepper to it. Now you can use green bell pepper if you like, but I really like red bell pepper. It makes it look like a real chowder. It's really pretty. So after all the vegetables are tender, we'll add our red bell pepper. We use 1/2 cup of that. And then we add also 2 cups of corn. Now you notice the recipe called for 4 cups, but we're only going to add 2 cups right now. And that's because we're going to blend the corn, the rest of the corn in the blender with our soy milk. We have 2 cups of corn that we add to the blender, and our soy milk. And we'll put the
definitely want to put the lid on.
Yes, nice and tight. It's a tight-fitting lid. And we'll blend that up until it's fairly smooth. It's hard to get the corn really, really smooth, but we want it well, well blended. And you probably at home will want to blend it more than that till it's nice and smooth. And we will add that to our soup. Let's stir our soup. I think our burner's a little bit slow, and of course you'll want to wait until the vegetables are nice and tender before we add this. And then you stir this into it, and you'll heat it now, but a lot of soy milks will curdle if you let it boil, so it's good to not let it boil.
Just kind of put that in at the last minute then.
Right, right. And then the last thing we'll add is our salt. And the reason why we add this last is because people's tastes are different. And sometimes you like a little more, a little less, and depends on your taste. So, but I usually add about a teaspoon of salt. And we'll just let it heat, and the flavors will blend together. And potatoes are such a nutritious food. They're full of minerals and full of B vitamins. And of course, like I said, they don't have any fat in them. But I don't think most people realize how low they are in calories. There are only about 100 calories for one
Do they
medium.
even have protein in them?
They do.
I think someone told me once that they have protein.
Do. Isn't that amazing? You wouldn't think of potatoes as a protein food.
So many people worry about getting enough protein.
Oh, yes. It's in all kinds of things.
So it's a very simple
It is
recipe,
simple.
but very hearty and colorful. And
It is colorful. It's very beautiful when it's done.
I know it has to be delicious.
Yes. Another good thing about potatoes is they're very satisfying. They have high satiety levels, so you can eat a bowl of potato corn chowder and feel very satisfied.
Well, let's take a look at the finished product.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. Isn't it lovely?
It is beautiful. I think it's a really pretty dish, especially with the red bell peppers in them. In
Yes.
fact, pretty enough to serve for company and quick enough to serve for unexpected company.
Well, we all appreciate having some recipes like that.
Yeah.
And what else are we going to be serving?
Well, I think the chowder needs a sandwich to go with it.
That sounds good.
Yes, so we'll make Veggie Delight sandwich.
Well, let me read you the ingredients. 1 tablespoon olive oil, 1/3 cup broccoli, finely chopped, 1/2 cup shredded carrot, 1/2 cup shredded yellow summer squash, 1 small onion cut into strips, whole grain pocket bread, 1/2 teaspoon onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon salt, 1/2 teaspoon nutritional yeast flakes, 1/4 teaspoon dried basil, 2 tablespoons of chopped olives, and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice.
Okay, well, the Veggie Delight sandwich is a very quick one to make. We'll start with some olive oil. I only need 1 tablespoon of olive oil in the pan because you're not sauteing it for very long. And then we'll add 1/3 cup of diced broccoli. And you see that it's very finely diced because we want little teeny bite-sized pieces. You can even do it in your food processor.
Oh, really?
And yes, it
You
makes
have
it
to be
really
real careful with that one, Jude.
Yes, you have to. You want it really small because it makes the flavors blend together well. Then we'll add 1/2 cup of shredded carrot, and then I like to add yellow summer squash, but sometimes it's not available. So you can substitute red cabbage or zucchini or any other kind of vegetable. The idea here is to keep it very colorful. Yes. And then some onion that I've cut into like slivers, and that gives it a good taste. We're going to stir it up and let them saute nicely. We want them to be tender, not mushy, but tender. And then if you find that you like the vegetables to be a little softer than the sauteing allows, you could add a little bit of water to it, just very, like a tablespoon or so of water, if you want them to be more tender than this. Then, after they're just the right tenderness to
so
your
colorful
tasting,
and pretty.
it is just beautiful. Then we'll remove it from the heat and we'll add our seasonings. We have 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You could use less if you're trying to watch your salt. And then 1/2 teaspoon of nutritional yeast, which is optional. Sometimes it's difficult to find nutritional yeast, which is different than brewer's yeast. but we'll put in the nutritional yeast. If you
Just
have
adds sort of a nutty flavor. Is it nutty or
kind of nutty,
just
kind
a
of cheesy.
cheesy flavor?
Yes.
Mm.
And then I have 1/4 teaspoon of basil. I really like in this recipe especially to crush the basil between my fingertips before I add it because it really releases the flavor
flavor.
of the basil. Yes.
It's a nice tip.
And we'll mix the seasonings in and add our 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and 2 tablespoons of olives. And those last 2 ingredients are the key to making this not a stir fry, but a sandwich. You'll just be really amazed and delighted in the taste that it will give you in your sandwich. We'll stir it
I
up.
look forward to trying it.
And if your vegetables are sauteed well, the lemon juice will have not be so
evaporate a little,
right.
yeah.
Right. Then we'll take our whole grain pocket bread. We want to make sure that it is whole grain because whole grains, of course, are better for us. And we'll go ahead and fill the vegetables into the pocket bread, and you have an immediate sandwich.
Well, we have one already prepared over here for you. Let me show it.
Looks
Doesn't that look
delicious.
delicious?
It is. And it's so quick and easy, and it's a good way to get more vegetables into your diet because we know that vegetables are very good for us, of course.
I bet your kids love these.
They do. They love.
It's just kind of a fun way to have a sandwich.
Yes.
Well, what will we be making next?
Let's make another soup.
That sounds good.
How about good for you tomato soup?
Sounds great. The ingredients for good for you tomato soup are 1/2 cup of raw cashews, 3/4 cup of water, 1 tablespoon onion powder, 1 tablespoon nutritional yeast flakes, 1/4 teaspoon dried basil, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of honey, 2 cans of crushed tomatoes, that's 28 ounces each, a pinch of oregano, and a pinch of garlic powder.
The first ingredient in our good for you tomato soup is cashews. Cashews are so good for you. They have the same monounsaturated fat that olive oil does.
Oh, really?
Yes, they're very nutritious. They also are a good source of zinc and a good source of magnesium. So, and of course, again, they're cholesterol free because they're a plant product. We'll put the cashews in the blender, 1/2 cup raw cashews. And now we want to add 3/4 cup of water to the blender. Now, what cashews do for this recipe is they give it a creamy consistency without adding refined fats or any bad fats to it. Again, the cashews have that good fat in them, so it'll make it nice and creamy. Then we'll put in some onion powder, 1 teaspoon or 1 tablespoon of onion powder, and 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast, and the nutritional yeast is optional. My children love the nutritional yeast in the tomato soup because they say it makes it taste cheesy, so they really like that. 1/4 teaspoon of dried basil, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You may need to vary the amount of salt depending on how much salt is in your tomatoes, and a pinch of oregano, and a pinch of garlic powder. And another optional ingredient is honey. We do like a little bit of sweet taste, not much, just a little bit of honey in it. But you can leave it out altogether if you wish. Now, we'll blend this up until it's nice and smooth. And of course, at home, you'll probably want to blend it a little longer because you want it really, really smooth.
Smooth and creamy.
Right, to make it a creamy tomato soup. After you're done blending it, you'll pour it into the soup pan because now you want to blend your tomato. We're going to blend the tomatoes.
Okay.
These are crushed tomatoes, and so we'll want to blend them. You could put them in the soup just like this without blending them, and they'd be just fine. But you may want to blend them if you want the creamy tomato soup that you're used to getting out of a can or something
Could
like
you
that.
use diced tomatoes?
Actually, the crushed tomatoes are the best to use because they don't have the seeds in them. That way you avoid having the seeds in the soup. So that's why I use crushed tomatoes. Also, I've seen in the store concentrated crushed tomatoes, and you really need to get the regular crushed tomatoes because concentrated crushed tomatoes makes a really thick soup, too much tomatoes. So you pour this into your blender, and if you have a smaller blender,
Yeah, we're going to stand that a little bit, huh?
if you have a small blender, you do it in batches, and you blend that until it's smooth as you like, depending on how smooth you like your soup. And they don't take nearly as long as the cashews do, of course. And we'll pour that into our soup. And then we would continue blending the tomatoes and pouring them into the soup. Now, I'm sure you've heard a lot of good things about tomatoes lately. They are just full of antioxidants. In fact, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants are the ones that you find in tomatoes. Yeah, called lycopene. So it's a good thing to eat often. Other foods have lycopene in them, like watermelon and strawberries, but tomatoes are probably the most well known for a lycopene source. We can blend some more. Maybe if I do it this way, that'll help. This is quite a messy job. Maybe a good job for a kitchen apron. A good job to have a kitchen apron on. Blend that till it's as smooth as we like. Pour it into our soup.
Then how long would you cook it?
Well, you could eat it as soon as it's warm, if you like.
Oh, just as soon as it's warm?
Yes. But if you let it cook for a little while, maybe simmer for about 20 minutes, the flavors blend better. You know how soup is.
Right.
The longer you cook it, the better. So you just want to simmer it for about 20 minutes. Looks a little like marble soup right now, so you want to stir it up really well. And it's just a very easy soup to make. And sometimes we're tempted to open up a can because we want the quick and easy, but really this doesn't take that long if you have the ingredients. And like I said, you could eat it right away, or you let it simmer for a little while.
Well, let's look at the finished product. Oh, isn't that pretty?
It is. It's just a wonderful, quick soup to make, and my children just absolutely love it.
I bet they do.
Yes.
That was always a favorite of my children, too.
Yes.
Tomato soup. Well, what will we be preparing next?
Well, let's make another sandwich to go with this soup.
Okay, good.
We can make some hummus sandwich.
Hummus. Yes. Okay. Well, the ingredients for the hummus sandwich are 3 cups of cooked garbanzo beans drained, 1 garlic clove, 1/4 cup of lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, parsley, fresh or dried, and whole grain bread.
The first ingredient for our sandwich spread is garbanzo beans.
They're also called chickpeas, aren't they?
Yes, exactly. We'll need 3 cups of garbanzo beans. And garbanzo beans are a legume, and legumes are a valuable part of a healthy diet because they are low in fat, they are high in fiber, they don't have any cholesterol, and they are full of minerals. So it's really wonderful to add legumes to your diet at least several times a week. They're very good for us.
I even like them put in a salad once in a while.
Oh, yes, I like it that way, too.
I think they're really tasty.
Now, we'll add some more ingredients to that before we close it up. You can use canned garbanzos if you're in a hurry and you don't have time to cook garbanzos. But the way that I like hummus the best is to cook them in my crock pot.
Oh.
Cook the garbanzos in my crock pot first because it makes them very soft and makes a good, very nice texture. To our garbanzos, we're going to add some minced garlic. And garlic is also very, very good for us. It's the most widely used herb in the world, and ancient records show that garlic has been used as a medicine since as early as 3000 BC. Yes, successfully as a medicine according to the records. We do know that garlic is antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, and it's also an antioxidant. So you can't go wrong with garlic, really.
I love garlic.
I do too. It's very
good. So the Italians had the right idea, huh?
Definitely. And then we will add some lemon juice. The recipe calls for 1/4 cup of lemon juice. You can vary it one way or another depending on how you like it. Just do some experimenting with the hummus to see how much lemon juice that you like in it. We'll add 1 teaspoon of onion powder to that and 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, if you use canned garbanzos, they usually have salt in them, so you want to do some experimenting. Right. You won't know how much salt to add really until you taste it. But if you cook your own, 1 teaspoon should make a good spread.
Okay. That's a good tip.
We'll blend that up now.
Okay.
I like to use a food processor because it makes the job so quick and easy. But if you don't have a food processor and you just put your garbanzos in a bowl, you can smash them with a fork, or one of the pastry cutters works well, especially if you cook your own. Really easy to do it that way. Yes, yes.
Okay.
So we'll do it in a food processor now, and you can see how quick it is. Looks pretty good. There we go. Couldn't beat how quick that is.
Very simple.
Yes. When I make garbanzos at home, I always, for a main dish, I always try to save some aside to make hummus out of. And it works really well because you can use your leftover garbanzos to make hummus out of, and then put the hummus in the freezer. And then you can just pull it out of the freezer anytime you need a quick sandwich spread. It's good to thaw it in the refrigerator overnight, but if you're in a real hurry, you can thaw it in some hot water. You don't want to leave it there for a long time. You don't want to cause spoilage, but you can thaw it quickly if you use a fork and chop up the icy hummus. We're going to add some fresh parsley to this hummus. If you don't have fresh parsley, you can use dried parsley, but I always like to use fresh when I can. Fresh parsley is very high in iron, and I know it's important for us to get plenty of iron in our diet. So we'll just pulse it real quick to get the parsley mixed up with it. Looks good. All right, looks very good. If you have a smaller food processor, you would just do it in batches, you know, cut it in half. Or if you do have a blender, you can make it in the blender, but you have to stir it down off the sides. Once in a while, it's a tough one to get off. You have to stir it off the sides sometime because it's quite a thick mixture. But it is an option if you don't want to chop them or mash them by hand. Then we'll take the hummus and spread it on our whole grain bread. Remember, we want to use whole grain to get all the nutrients that we can from the wheat. When the grain goes through the refining process, we lose so many good nutrients and fiber and essential fatty acids. So it's always best to use whole grain. Read the ingredients on the labels, or even better yet, make it yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing like homemade bread, huh? Now it's pretty.
That looks really good.
Yes, and it smells so good. Now there's so many things that you can use on top of hummus sandwich. Our favorite is cucumber, but you can also use lettuce and tomato. You know, just whatever you'd like. Sometimes we'll drizzle some salad dressing on top of it.
Gives that extra flavor.
Right, right. Add more parsley to it if you'd like. Shredded carrot is really good. Red bell pepper is really good.
So there's just endless possibilities.
There really is. You could add just whatever you like to it. And hummus is not only good on a sandwich, but it's also good as a vegetable dip. Add just a little bit more lemon juice to it, and you can use it.
I do that myself.
Do you?
I like it on the little crackers. Yes.
Oh, on crackers, yes. We like it that way too.
Well, let's look at our finished product.
All right.
Oh, and I think it looks so lovely.
It is. It's a very attractive dish.
Attractive.
It also is good if you chill the hummus before. It has a little better flavor if you if you have time to chill it before you you serve it.
Well, I don't know who wouldn't want to try this. It just looks so lovely.
And our cameraman said he doesn't like garbanzos too much, so this is a really good way to
This
get.
is one we're going to have to make him try.
Yeah, because the hummus does give it an extra zing, makes the garbanzos taste really good.
Well, Jennifer, I've really enjoyed cooking with you today, but you know what? We're about to run out of time. We're going to take a short break now and give you information on how you can get these recipes.
We hope you've enjoyed cooking with Jennifer White. Now let's take a moment to review our simple soup and sandwich recipes. For the potato corn chowder, you will need 1 1/2 cups of water or vegetable broth, 1 medium onion, 2 medium potatoes, 2 stalks of celery, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of savory, which is optional, 1 tablespoon of dried parsley, 1/2 cup of diced bell peppers, 4 cups of corn, 2 1/2 cups of soy milk, plain, and 1 teaspoon of salt. For the Veggie Delight sandwich, you will need 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 1/3 cup of finely chopped broccoli, 1/2 cup of shredded carrots, 1/2 cup of shredded yellow summer squash, 1 small onion, whole grain pocket bread, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of nutritional yeast flakes, 1/4 teaspoon of dried basil, 2 tablespoons of chopped olives, and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. For the Good For You tomato soup, you will need 1/2 cup of raw cashews, 3/4 cup of water, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast flakes, 1/4 teaspoon of dried basil, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of honey, 2 28-ounce cans of crushed tomatoes, a pinch of oregano, and a pinch of garlic powder. For the hummus sandwich, you will need 3 cups of cooked garbanzo beans, 1 clove of garlic, 1/4 cup of lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, parsley, and whole grain bread. If you would like more information on how you can contact Jennifer, or if you would like to receive today's recipes, please write to 3ABN, Post Office Box 220, West Frankfort, Illinois 62896, or call us at 1-800-752-3226. Now let's get back to the program and take a look at our finished recipes with Jennifer.
Welcome back. Would you just look at all the beautiful recipes that we prepared for you today? They look so wholesome and good. Jennifer, could you tell us about them?
Sure. First, we made potato corn chowder, just perfect for a chilly winter day.
Yes.
And then we made Veggie Delight sandwich and put it in a pocket bread, so it's a fun way to get more veggies into your diet. You
Kids in particular kind of like that, don't they?
You just have to try that one. It's so good. Then we made Good For You tomato soup, which is quick and easy, almost as quick as opening a can.
It really was.
Yes. So we'll have to start making more homemade tomato soup. And then we made our hummus sandwich, which is a wonderful way to incorporate more legumes into our diet. We want to do that because they're so good for us.
And as you mentioned, it could also be used as an appetizer on little crackers.
Absolutely.
It's very good that way. Well, our time's about up. I want you to remember, you're not in this alone. Join us again and let's cook together.